There we go, Rob. We're
Yeah,
back on.
yeah.
All right. Yo, thank you
Mhm.
everybody for your patience, man. So we got Rob. This is the way I want y'all to see and hear what he's saying, because the jewels, it's very expensive. All these years of experience and knowledge, and just really creating the game at a time where the board was being set up, the pieces were just being named. Am I lying, Rob? This is a time where the monopoly game of hip hop was just being branded at that very time, and that's where your um, journey started, was at that table. To me, I look at it like, you're a forefather to the game. So with that said, Rob, I want you to continue what you were saying, but I'm glad everybody can hear you now.
Yeah, so I was basically given like five basic steps. I think the question was, how do you get started? What do you do? And I said the first thing you have to do is you have to understand your brand, who you are. And then the second thing you need to do is you have to understand your audience, who you're speaking to, who you're making music for. Um, and then the third thing you have to do is you have to build your team. And your team, has to be people who share the same vision that you share and understand, what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, and understand you understand your brand. And then, you have to make quality music. You have to make music that people, don't mind, you know, um, spending their spare time to listen to, you know, because people are all in competition for your spare time, you know, and time is something that is something that you don't get back, you know, so you have to use your time wisely. And then the
The
fifth
most
part,
valuable commodity.
absolutely. And then the fifth part of that is, you know, you have to get your business in order. You have to make sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. As it relates to your publishing, as it relates to owning your likeness, owning your brand. Building your brand up so it can be a mark, so you can trademark it, so no one can go and say, you know, there's someone that thought of the name Coca-Cola. There's someone that thought of the name Pepsi. There's someone that thought of the name, all these names that you hear, Tide, Colgate, Crest, all that. All those are brands, and someone had to think of those brands, and someone owned those brands. So you have to think from the gate, like, this is something that I'm going to own. This is something that people will still pay for, but, I own it, and I'll license it to you for you to use it for a specific purpose, but it's my brand, it's my mark, it's my copyright, something that I own.
Yep. Very
So,
important.
understanding those five major ingredients, it would help you, create a blueprint for yourself, and it'll help you with your short term, midterm, and long term goals. Um, but the key is to be focused and disciplined enough where you're not sidetracked and you're not distracted by, you know, things that don't really concern you or your brand, and don't put your brand in the best light.
Hey, Rob, you, you, I love to hear what you're saying about, trademarking and branding, and these things are all, if you was to go into any business, these are the things that people have to understand first, right? And then, I feel like in hip hop music, in specific, I don't think we respect the music aspect of it. Not we, but I'm just saying that I feel like artists are always trying to skip a bunch of steps. You know what I mean? Like they just the whole artist development side, understanding your what your sound is, who your core audience is. Like, how do you think that that's changed, and how do you like? How do you feel like that's affecting, how everything is saturated? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, the quote unquote microwave generation of artists who everybody thinks they have a sound. Everybody thinks they got the hottest song on the block. But
well, I mean,
they're walking.
I think that every mother feels that their baby is beautiful,
Yeah.
and every artist is going to think that they got the hottest records and they are the most creative and they the best, I started out myself, MCing and rhyming, but I realized very, very, very early on that there was people that were better in putting words together than I was. So I said, I'm not going to play that game because I can't win that game because there's people out there that are way better than me. So I had to lean towards my strength. And what my strength was the connectivity, connecting people, seeing people that need to be with other people, mixing gin and juice, knowing that would be a popular, drink, and identifying that early and just jumping on that, So the guys that think that they can just go in the studio one take and be with their boys and come out and they got, a hot product, you can luck up and do that. You can get lucky and do that maybe once, what I'm saying? Sometimes, but in a rare occasion, maybe twice. But it takes a specific skill set and a discipline and a formula to do it consistently. That's why everybody say, oh, you got lucky with the first album and now you got the sophomore jinx. Can you do it again? But if you got the same formula and if you believe in your brand, you got to be your biggest hero. If you believe in your brand and you go out and every day you live your brand and you brand yourself everywhere you go, then people will start to believe in your brand. And once you get people believing in your brand, then you feed them like, yo, this is what I'm doing. And then you luck up. And like even some of the people now, like I was having a conversation earlier about sports and Steph Curry, like, he's mastered the 3-point shot so well that these kids now think that if they can just shoot a 3-pointer, that they can go to the NBA. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that simple. I'm quite sure there was a whole bunch of other training that went in before he really found and leaned on his strength of that I could shoot behind the from the perimeter. So as a creative person, you got to realize where your strengths are. If your strengths are that you got the bandwidth to understand how to put words together the right way, use that. Use your creative ways of putting poetry together in words and be the lyricist, and then, find someone that can understand your lyrical ability and put those lyrical skills to beats and to a soundtrack and a backdrop and create a chemistry with a producer and then put out high quality music. And then the rest is history. Nobody can deny a hit. Once you hear it, it's got to go. Once it goes, it's gone. Can't pull it back. And that's who you are until you show the world that you're somebody else.
And that's coming from you, who you've been behind, some of the biggest hits of our generation. How do you know when a song is a hit? Like, how do you know that?
It's a feeling, man. It's a feeling, it's a feeling like, all hit records, they strike an emotion, whether it's a sad, happy, celebratory, melancholy moment. Like it's a feeling. It's a feeling that you get. And, the whole vibe of the whole music, like they say, music is a universal language, right? You can be Chinese, you could be Asian, you can be Polish or whatever. If you hear something that's familiar, that makes you move, you can communicate with other people and not even know their language. And music, has so many different attributes. They have healing qualities. They have spiritual qualities. They have qualities of meditation. That's why, even when people meditate, they listen to a certain type of music, and a certain type of note. And Quincy Jones said it best, man. There's only 12 notes out there. You know what I'm saying? If you understand those notes, you will understand, all of music. And I think that's one thing, when you talk about microwave artists and artists skipping steps and not walking down the block and just trying to jump over the blocks and see everything that they can see, they make a huge mistake, because at the end of the day, you have to understand music. So now we see a resurgence now of samples, right? So we look at Megan Thee Stallion and her Big Old Freak record, right? So it's a combination of it's a combination of older records, some that was produced by Teddy Riley and Albie Shore, but what I'm saying, it was repurposed. So now the kids hear that now, they think it's a whole new sound, but they don't realize that has been, that's a sample from something that was originally created by somebody else. And understanding, where you come from, you can always know where you're going. And a lot of artists don't take the time to do that. They just think that they arrived like that. They think that they dripped, out of their mother's womb, and they're the hottest thing on the street. But if you ask them, what is 16 bars, it'd be a question mark. Or you ask them what is the C note, or a clef note, they'd be like looking at you like you crazy. Because they don't understand. If you ask them how to play, if it was with a band, and you ask the band to play halftime, they don't know what that means. You know what I mean? Like you got to be really a student of the music business and a lover of music, all music.
Even.
Right.
Even just like, I always say, like, it always starts with, like, even reading a book on music theory, or what, origins of music, and just understanding your genre, understanding the history. Because like you say, you just mentioned Teddy Riley, but some of these kids don't even know who Teddy Riley is, and that's a shame, because like you said, Quincy said there's only 12 notes. Everything has been repurposed 7 times. It's just your ears have to be trained to hear it, but it is a resurgence of samples. How do you feel about that?
I think it's it's a cipher, right? So everything that will be, everything comes 360, and there's nothing new under the sun. Something always is a derivative of something else. So it's, especially for hip hop, man. That's why hip hop has been able to sustain itself all over the course of all these years, 30 plus years, because, you look at Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X did something. He went against the grains. He did something that people, Nelly, sampled with it. A couple of other artists sampled with, country music, but he took the straight lift. He took a straight country record and repurposed it and made it trap and made it popular. And look, it's the #1 record in the world, But he took a chance and he used a little intuitive and some creativity, and he really thought about it and used the right platform, and he was able to reach the original composer and also get him to join him on the remix. And he doesn't need to make another record in his life ever again.
Ain't that crazy?
But like I said, some of those records sometimes come once in a lifetime. Can he do it again? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But if he's brilliant enough to have an idea and go with his idea, because sometimes people be like, yo, that's crazy. I remember years ago, we were in, I think, either Impact Music Convention, and we had a panel, and I don't recall what particular panelist said this comment, but they was like, yo, you can't mix hip hop with R&B. It's like oil and water. And I always remember them saying that. And I was just like, yo, you're wrong. Like hip hop is so pure that it's like melanin. Like, you know what I'm saying? One drop of melanin, I don't care what race you in, you're going to be black. It's as simple as that. Hip hop, I don't care what you put it in, it's going to be. But now they call it pop record. It's a pop record now. But really, it's a straight hip hop record. Chuck Chill Out said it best. Yo, man, Lil Nas X is just like the rapping Duke. Da ha. Yo, we had that before. Like he was way before his time. And if you guys don't know who the rapping Duke was, research it. Research the rapping Duke. Look up the record, Da Ha, listen to it, and you'll hear what I'm saying. So, you know, now Lil Nas X do it in this century. And it's a smash record, you know. Rapping Duke record, you know, it was a hit.
Mix of genres.
You know.
You know what was different about that time too is that we didn't have the internet, right? So like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when I first heard Ice Ice Baby, I didn't know Vanilla Ice was white. I'm just keeping it real. I didn't know until like I already was in love with the record. And not that there's anything wrong with him being white. It's just that I didn't expect it. It wasn't like expected. You know what I'm saying? But right away, I think people got to know that way. Lil Nas X, he's a black artist doing hip hop, crossing over into country, and I think that really bothered some people, which is crazy. You know, it really.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, to the point where they didn't want to accept him. Exactly. And they didn't want to accept his music as being a country song. You know, it's okay for Billy Ray Cyrus to do it, but for a black man to do that record, no. But, you know, the country music has been stealing black writers' songs for years. I mean, if you go back and you look at, here's a couple of, see, this is why it's important to have this platform, Ali, man, because people need to do their research, man. They need to understand the Ruth Brown story. And if you don't know who Ruth Brown is, Google Ruth Brown. And Ruth Brown, if you remember the movie Ray, Eyes Off and those from Atlantic Records said that they was going to put Ray Charles out on a tour with Ruth Brown. Ruth Brown, she sued the recording industry. She sued the music business and won. Like a lot of people don't know about the story, but she sued the recording industry and won. You know, that's why, you know, she has the Rhythm and Blues Foundation. And just do your research. There's a lot of different resources out there, man. There's, you know, people were stealing songs, you know, that were created and written by artists of color, and they were later recorded by artists, you know, white artists, and they were, you know, they became popular records. So everybody knew those for being, you know, Elvis Presley songs, but they weren't really Elvis Presley songs.
No, he was covering a lot of the songs, but the thing was, radio stations weren't playing quote unquote colored artists at the time, and then they would have to cover these songs. That's why, you know, I love watching documentaries, and that's one of my addictions that I have. But you know, that happened a lot, man. And it's like they sweep that history under the rug. And, you know, and I don't agree with that. But now with the internet, it's all up to us to really look that up. But there's a really cool documentary out on Netflix right now about the original writer of the Lion King song. The original version, right, where they did him and his family dirty from the beginning, calling it an African folk song. Meanwhile, it wasn't an African folk song. So when it came here, all of the white artists covered it, and they didn't have to pay any royalties for years. And I'm talking about they had to sue Lion King, and, you know, it's a really cool documentary. But anyway, I say that to say, just please look at the history. You know, you really gotta pay attention to that. Rob, while I got you, I just want to go through some of the questions that we have. We got a lot of good questions up here.
Okay, cool.
And some comments also. Yeah, sorry guys. I like I sometimes lose track because we just be having such good conversation. But me and Rob do this every day. But okay, we got so Arthur Laby, that's my guy from Israel. He said if you're fucking with Pharrell and the Neptune sound, that's Teddy Riley's DNA right there.
Of course.
Gotta definitely
Of course.
agree with that.
They were incubator producers inside Future Studio in Virginia Beach under Teddy Riley. When Teddy was doing Michael Jackson's album, they were in the Studio B, cooking up shit.
So that's a fact.
And our good friend Nori was the first guy that had the Neptunes beat and put a record out with the Neptune.
That one of those beats was the Nothing record that you had. I don't want to say you had a hand in it. It was because of you that the record went out. I mean, can I just tell that story?
Yeah,
or is that for
true.
something else? Can I
I could tell it. I could tell it real quick. I'll make it real quick because I'm quite sure I want to get to some of the answers. The questions.
Yeah.
So the Nothing record was a record. Norby had just finished doing Grimy tour, and the Grimy record was out there, and it started slowing down, and was like we had a formula where we would do 2 singles, and then 2 singles, 1 single in play, setting up the second single, and then you go on tour to promote the album, and then you drop the album. So, the Grimy record started dying down, and they couldn't figure out what the next single was. And, Nori came to my office, and he was, quite upset because he was like, yo, they're not scheduling my album right now. And it's, and I'm like, well, what do you got? What do you got in your back pocket? And he's like, I got this Pharrell record, call Nothing. I said, yeah, let me hear it. So I put the record in, and instinctively, I automatically my nose flared up. It looked like I was smelling something stinking funky in the room, and I was just like, yo, this is crazy. I was like, yo, this record needs to be out right now, man. Like, yo, I'm calling Flex right now. So I pick up the phone, I call Flex, and just me and Nori in my office. And I call Flex, and I say, yo, Flex, this dude Nori got a record, man. That's ridiculous, man. It's stinking up the whole joint, man. It's so funky in there, boy. I mean, you gotta hear this, Flex. He was like, word? I was like, yeah. He was like, yo, bring it down to me. So me and Nori runs out of my office, go down to Hot 97, and we slide the record to Flex through the crack of the door because Nori wasn't supposed to be in the station because of alleged some things that happened in the past, whatever. And
allegedly,
I had Nori slide the record to Flex, and we went downstairs and we sat in the car listening to Funkmaster Flex start the show at 7:00. So about 7:15, 7:30, nothing was popping, It was just like nothing. So Nori's like, yo, I'm going to the crib. I said, all right, fuck it, I'm going to get some ice cream. So I went get some ice cream. Nori was on his way to the crib. Then he started blowing my phone up. He was like, yo, nigga, you listen to the radio? I'm like, nah, wow, what's up? He's like, yo, turn the radio on. So I get in the car, turn the radio on, and Flex is just like dialoguing for like a straight half an hour. Like, yo. And I think this is what with the, yo, if you on the West Side Highway, pull over. Yo, if you this, stop what you're doing. Yo, the world, hey, hold on. Now, mind you, I did this without even, consulting with my partners at the time, Leo and Kevin Lyles. And the record was full-fledged on the airways, like Flex dropping bombs, going crazy, bananas. You know, I get called into the next day and was like, yo, did you give Funkmaster Flex this record? So, of course, I denied it because technically I didn't. I had Nori do it. And, you know, thank God I did that. I wanted to fire me for doing that. But it was the right call. And it still to this day, it's a timeless record. And, you know, the record went over 10,000 spins. Probably one of his most played records in his career at Def Jam, for sure. And the rest is history. You know, they opened the budget up. They scheduled the album. He went on another tour. He sold a bunch of albums. Sent Ali on the tour. You know what I'm saying? Sent Tony Austin, Kevin Lyle's cousin, on the tour. And you know, and the rest is history, man. And it was one. And at that moment, I realized that, you know, my instincts were right. And oftentimes you got to go with your feelings, and if you feel it's the right thing, you know, you gotta risk it all. You know, you gotta risk it all to do it.
Yeah,
so that's, you know, that's the nothing story.
It's a gamble. It's all a gamble, man. And you got to, like you said, it's the feeling. You have to have that feeling, trust your instincts, and take a chance. It's okay. What's the worst thing that would have happened if Flex hated it? You wouldn't have had, you know, like what would have happened? And that's the fear that I think, you know, humans have just naturally of like, oh, can I take this risk? And you know, I think that's the moral of the story, is like you got to follow your intuition, follow your feelings based on experience. If you don't have any experience and you're just running around taking chances, then you're out of your mind. But Rob Love at the time is running a company, the whole department. So it's like, of course, his experience of seeing this happen 1,000 times, you know, I mean, Rob is responsible, you know, for Jay-Z, for Ludacris, for the DM. I mean, for every artist that you know came out in that era, they had to go see Rob Love in order to get out there. And you know, anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's get to some questions. But what I'm saying is, you got to have the experience, man, and then also take a chance. Am I correct in that, Rob?
Right. Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And you can't be afraid to fail. You know what I'm saying? Like I every day I would walk in that building and I would say, you know, if I did something that I believed in and it didn't work, you can fire me. You can take my salary for a year. I put my salary up all the time. I said, take it. I said, I believe that strongly in it. You know, and this is before the internet. You know, I started, you know, when Smack DVD and Dons and Divas and all these DVD magazines, this is before the internet started popping up and people started taking cameras around and interviewing artists and being on the scene, being in the parties. You know, I came up with, yo, you know what? You know, let me get an ad. Let me get an ad right before you show your content. So this is before the Google model. This is before YouTube model. Where, you know, when you got your video on YouTube and you see that button and you got to watch that ad. I was doing that before they even thought about that. So, you know, you just got to really kind of understand, you know, the wave of where we going with this entertainment thing, and you got to stand in your truth. And you gotta believe in yourself. And somebody asked the question: is New York artists making a comeback? New York artists never really went anywhere. It was the perception of New York artists, because we've done such an amazing job of you know. Of partnering with a temple like Hot 97. And if you look back over the years, you know, we had the top 10 songs on Hot 97, bottom line. Every one of our artists, Hot 97 was our partner. All Def Jam records was on Hot 97. And Hot 97 at the time was dictating, and it was leading the charge in hip hop, you know. And it was Hot 97 in New York. It was K-Day out in LA. And, you know, we had a stronghold on it. So the Redman, the Method Man, the DMX, the Jay-Z, the Ludacris's, you know, the Red and Meths, all of those records spun heavy on the East Coast. Heavy. That's where the buying consumer really were. So we were feeding the marketplace inside that eastern seaboard. Then we started going out west and picking up, you know, Dub C and Montel Jordan and other West Coast artists, and started spreading out throughout the West with the same formula. You know, let's hit the ant with the sledgehammer. And New York, once, you know, the whole Atlanta vibe, you know, L.A. Reid and Babyface, they did the LaFace records, you know, home positioned in Atlanta, and Outkast came, you know, it wasn't until Sean Taylor came to Hot 97 and Southern music started playing on Hot 97, because he was, you know, from Atlanta, and he, you know, he changed the and opened up the culture and the circle of hip hop as it relates to New York and East Coast. So Southern music started playing more on Hot 97 and became more popular. Then you have other artists that popped up, and you had, you know, people that, you know, from New York that sound like they were from down south. ASAP Rocky, Designer, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, people started looking at the formulas of what the Southern artists was doing, and they, you know, even being from New York, adding a New York flavor to it, but having a Southern sound, because that was the palette of the radio culture at the time. So then you had New York artists that were breaking through, even when Southern music was dominating, and the East Coast boom bap record started getting suppressed, started becoming a backpacker, started becoming only on specialty shows like Rosenberg show on Sundays. So, you know, New York, you know what I'm saying, is never went anywhere.
French Montana, I see right here. Someone just said shout him out.
Absolutely. French is a self-made New York artist that paid attention to the culture, paid attention to the wave, and took his surfboard and rode that wave.
All the way.
And then said, yo, you know what? There's another wave over here, so I'm going to jump on this wave too. But still keeping his core values intact. Even Mano. I remember Mano's struggle. I remember French Montana's struggle. Not being on a major. Yo, I'm going to get it. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to stay consistent on their necks. I'm going to keep giving it to them till they're going to love it.
Yo, consistency.
And that is actually the function of radio, of FM radio, is repetition. If you keep hearing a song over and over, you can hear it one time and be like, yeah, I don't like that song. But then you keep hearing it in high frequency, then you can be like, yo, you know what? That song is not that bad. Now, okay, now that's my shit.
Yeah.
Now you're hooked.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. You're 100% right, man. I got a quick question here. Boston Bud Collection. What if I have a special ear for music and can spot out the most talented artists before they're signed?
That's a talent. That's a talent that needs to be nurtured. You need to surround yourself with some business people that are, you know, that could point you in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? I think your focus shouldn't be, I think you should understand the business side, but you should have handlers that handle your business specifically, and you focus on identifying what's next and identifying those musical elements that are different and from a point of difference that makes, you know, artist A significant and artist B different than artist C.
So Bust and Bug Collection. Make sure you send me links to whoever you think is hot, and we'll start building from there. And I got another collector question from F1 Daytona. They're asking, what is the first step to getting a single moving in 2019?
Well, I mean, moving and what you mean by moving, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you take the single out of the studio, it's moved, right? One. So if you know, it's all air traffic control, right? Where you going to land your plane at? You know what I'm saying? Is it going to be YouTube? What? Right. Do you say? See, it goes back to those elements that I talked about understanding your brand, understanding your audience, right? So if you know you're making a record that's females are gonna love, you need to look at all the females. You know what I'm saying? You need to look at all the female hosts that's on radio, all the female media people. You know, you need to go on their DM. You need to say, hey, look, you know what? I really like your show. Really like what you're doing. This is Women Crush Wednesday, and here's a gift, my song.
That's Jules right there. FYI. That was Jules for y'all. If you missed it, you just got to watch this again, and you'll get it. It's called Targeting Your Audience by Any Means Necessary.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna do one more question, Robin. That's it. I'm not gonna take up more of your time, but I really love doing this, man, with you. This is so dope that I think me and you should do. We really have a show, to be honest. But
nah, that's a known fact, bro. And just for all the people that are tuned in, man, you know, stay locked in. You know what I'm saying? I rarely do interviews like this, and because you know the game is
busy working.
The game is to be the game is to be sold, not told. You know what I'm saying? And I'm constantly grinding, so I don't really have the time, but I take the time out for Ali and this platform. So
appreciate you, Rob. Appreciate you, and you know, for everybody who's watching, you know, you could take advantage of, you know, the knowledge that, you know, Rob is sharing today. And, you know, there's going to be some more content coming in the future. So make sure you go on the website, you register your email, you become a member so you can be on the first wave of getting all this information that comes out. So, Rob.
What was that last question?
Okay, hold on. Well, we got a few more questions. So, Arthur Levy from Israel. He says, "What's your favorite record you ever been involved with, Rob?"
That's tough, man, because I love all the records that I was involved with because they all have stories attached to them. You know what I'm saying? So it would be a movie, it would be my documentary. And those songs would be the backdrops of those of the documentary, because you know you will get a vivid image of how those songs became popular. I'll give you a quick example. My good friend DJ SNS, we had this record that LL Cool J did, and this was LL Cool J transitioning to like taking control of his own music and doing his own thing and creating the direction in which he wanted to go in. And he had this record called Imagine That. No, not Imagine That. It was Headsprung. It was Headsprung, and it was a totally different direction. It was more of a dancey kind of poppy record for LL. And I never forget, I gave this record to DJ SNS like maybe 10 times. 5 of those times, he cracked the record right over his knee and said, "Yo, Rob, I'm not going to play this record." And I said to him, you're going to play this record. Not only you going to play this record, but you're going to break this record like you broke those other 5 records over your knees. You're going to break this record. And I stood stern and fast with S, and I convinced him that he was going to break the record. And I think it was Jazzy Joyce. I was giving him like the 6th or the 7th copy, and Jazzy Joyce came up and was like, yo, Rob, what record is that? And this was back in the days when we didn't have downloads and we had to actually take vinyl into the clubs. And I was like, this that new LL, imagine that. Yo, you gave me 1 copy, give me another one. That shit is crazy. And S was like, yo, word, Joyce, you like this? He was like, what? This record is crazy. So then S is like, he played it that night for me in front of my face for the first time. And I was like, then he was like, yo, I'm gonna fuck with this shit. I say, word? I said, okay. He said, yo, I'm going to Cancun and I'm doing Miami for Memorial Day. I said, I bet we're gonna set it up like this. You're gonna play this record ridiculous. I mean, like ridiculous repetitively. And it was 2 records that came out of that Memorial Day weekend. It was Fat Joe, our good friend Fat Joe's Lean Back, and LL Cool J's Head From. Bang! From Miami to Cancun. And I would fly back and forth. I was in Miami for a couple of hours, shoot to Cancun for a couple of hours, back to Miami for a couple of hours, back to Cancun for a couple of hours, just to make sure that this record was going bananas. And it sure enough was. And DJ SNS, really, he really put it down for that record. And it was one of those records that I loved, but I had to convince other people to love it.
And that goes with when you believe in something, you're able to do that,
Yep. Somebody asked the question, how much capital should they put into marketing a single? It really depends on your it really depends on how far you want to go with a record, and it really depends on your P&L. Like every record you put out got to have a profit and loss, right? You got to say, yo, you know what? I'm gonna spend $50,000 on this project, and then work backwards from there, right? So 50, and you spend 5 on this, so now you got 45, and you work backwards for that. But you a la carte put in what you want, right? Do I want radio? If you go the radio route, you're going to spend probably most of that 50 at radio.
Very expensive. Very, very expensive.
And you may not get the results back from that 50 at radio than you would desire. So
Rob,
the current model now.
Let's keep it real with them. There's been times where you got no results from millions. Am I lying?
Nope. You're absolutely right.
It don't matter. It just goes back to the music, man. It's the music.
It starts in the studio. It always starts in the studio, and people and people will sell you dreams and, yo, I can get you on this station. I can get you on this playlist. I can get you that, this, that, the other. If the record is trash, and then there's it's a thing that we call in the industry a work record. You know what I'm saying? And every record has got to be worked. We had a record that was called Rockwilder by Redman and Method Man. And the record started off with tones. And DJs was like, yo, I can't play this record. It starts off too slow. It starts off with these beeps. Beep, 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 beep. Then it goes, oh my gosh. And it's still building up. And then the beat drop, right? Produced by Rockwilder. And the way that we were able to turn the record around is that we had to reprogram the DJ. And how we reprogrammed them was simple. Start the instrumental first. let the instrumental, let the beat from the breakdown come in from the previous record, and then bring it back.
Yeah.
Start it over to the beginning, and then let it build up and drop again. So we had to kind of reprogram DJs on how they was the sandwich records and how they was the play records. So, it's salute to all the DJs out there and all the DJs that's ever played any of our, broke any record that I ever worked. Salute to you, but you guys know that I work you guys on the record. You know what I'm saying? I came with a direction. I came with this is how you break the record. This is what you say. I came with the narrative. I came with, this is how many times you play the record in your set. This is how you expose it. This is how you make this record a hit. And the rest is history.
Rob, man, I can't thank you enough for taking this time. I know your phone probably been blowing up this whole time, man, but...
Now, I noticed that I've been getting a bunch of followers on IG, and I appreciate that. Everything is a numbers game, and I would love to have 2 million followers, but I'm okay having what I have, because what I have is quality and not quantity. So I'm cool with that.
Nah, and it's real at the end of the day, man. And there's no value that you can put on the knowledge and the experience that, any entrepreneur, whether you're an artist or small business, that you can gain from the marketing, branding, and the resources that you have and know how to use. So we definitely thank you, Rob, for joining, and I can't wait till we give them some more of this content that they can consume and digest.
Yeah, you guys stay locked, keep it locked, stay tuned, continue to follow, continue to learn. I mean, I'm still learning every day, right? I'm still learning every day, but I understand why, as well as understanding how. Because we had to, we operated at a very high pace, a high volume, and a fast pace before the internet. In fact, we had this thing called Click Radio with my late friend, Hank Williams was the president of Click Radio. And Click Radio was internet radio before it became what it is today. And he was so ahead of his time and his thought leadership that we crashed the internet. When we first went on with 360.com, Russell had the 360.com. The server crashed because there were so many people that was trying to get on the internet and trying to understand how the internet works, and we crashed it, and it was my street team that went out and did all the grassroots marketing for it. And, and even to take it a step further, when I was over with Clive Davis' company at J Records, I was the first guy to send DJs flash drives and music preloaded on a flash drive, because I knew that vinyl was going to be phased out, CDs is going to be phased out, and the digital era was here. So, I got a plethora of different stories, man, about the music business, and I can go on for days and days and days, but this is just part one of what we're going to continue to build, answer your questions, support you, give you direction, and help you take your artistry to the next level.
Man, thank you again, Rob, and we can't thank you enough, man. And everybody, follow I Am Rob Love, and make sure you contact us on the email, and stay tuned to all the things that we got coming. And Rob, thank you again. Do you have anything else you want to say to them before we sign off?
Yo, support who supports you. always go to the love, always go where the love is, and lean to your strengths. And, don't be afraid to be different, man. And don't let nobody tell you anything different, man. Go with your gut.
Man, thank you so much, Rob.
See?
I appreciate it, man.
Yo,
I'll
thanks.
call you in a
Thanks,
little
Cuzzo.
bit. Thanks, man. Thank you.
I know that.
All right.
Peace.
So I hope you guys really got to get something out of that conversation. Rob Love is an OG. Make sure y'all go follow him. He always has jewels that he's constantly dropping. Today we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but it all ended up working out, I believe. I thank everybody who joined us today, and please let your friends know we're going to do this again next week. Let's grow this audience. And no, I don't know who that is. And thank you, everybody, man, for your time. And we'll see y'all next week. And hope to see y'all again. And you hit the little paper button right there. You share it to 3 of your friends. And look forward to seeing you guys, man. Have a great day.